information to get started.
Okay. So, I'm Peter. This is my read setups and returns course. This is Drakknar. He's going to assist me today.
Tell them about yourself, Peter.
Tell about myself?
Yeah.
Well, I am 34 years old. I live in Bettendorf, Iowa. I have 2 little boys and a wife. There we go.
So, pizza bell guy, but he comes and wins a lot of AmpGuard tournaments, so he's kind of a dick that way. Anyways, my name's Drakknar. I've been playing AmpGuard 30 years. Been a Sword Knight 23 years. I used to be good back in the day.
Okay. So what I would like to do is I want to go through, I want you guys to introduce yourself, tell me where you're from, and what you're hoping to take home from this course.
Oh, sorry, I'm from Austin, Texas.
Go ahead.
I'm Miss Buttersworth. Yeah, that's
Miss
right.
Buttersworth.
Miss Buttersworth.
Okay.
No mister. I'm from Springfield, Missouri. Not a lot of heavy sticks, so one of my goals out of SKBC is take some things back that I can actually use at the local parks and try to bring them up, as well as teach myself to get over some of the plateaus I feel I'm having right now. So.
I'm Baihu. I'm from Albuquerque. And yeah, what else are we talking about?
What are you hoping to take home?
From this class, I'm still working to make sure I'm not tracing and doing, like, if I'm going to counter-strike, I want to counter-strike, not trace. So that's still a thing.
Okay.
I'm KLT from Northeast Ohio. I'd like to maybe learn some new setups I can take back home for homework, practice, refine.
I'm Fezzik from Baltimore. I've got a lot of 90%ers that I like with single stick, but I'm looking to branch out and open up so that I can keep moving forward and not get myself stuck in that, it gives me success. Let me just keep doing that and never learn.
Sure.
I'm Argon. I'm from Harrisonburg, Virginia. I'm trying to take the ability to have a better plan and be able to react to my opponent better rather than just kind of like, all right, well, this is what I'm going to do, and if it doesn't work, I'm just going to, I'm not really going to react. I'm just going to do my thing and back off. A little bit more precision.
Okay.
I'm Spaz. I'm from Baltimore as well. What I'm hoping to take home from this particular class is I'm having problems reading opponents that I'm not familiar with. It becomes very obvious at this point. So I'm hoping to improve upon that and just work on some setups to, especially for opponents I don't know, to set them up in positions I want them in.
Okay.
I'm Handsome Jake. I'm from Canada, and my goals are very similar to that. Like I get surprised a lot. I think I'm not reading what my opponent's going to do, and I get very surprised and caught out very badly. So I want to work on that.
Okay.
I'm Sir Bard, I'm an archer looking to transition to melee in the best way I can.
EXO from Northern Virginia now. Just looking at a better macro perspective of what other people think about when they're fighting and looking at what I do.
Okay.
Inox from Maryland, looking to get a better perspective on what other people are setting up.
Nanook from Southwest Ohio. I'm just trying to get better at single stick.
Dermot, Pennsylvania, trying to just not rely on instincts, try to actually start strategizing while I'm fighting.
Okay.
I'm Paulo from Ohio. I'm just trying to pick up whatever you put down.
All right.
Thane, Northeast Ohio, just looking to improve that mental game.
Nikolai from Ohio. Just trying to figure out what other people are seeing from me, maybe what I'm projecting, and then possibly correct or set people up to do what I want them to.
All right.
My name's Ryosh, Central Ohio, and I'm looking to just be a sponge, soak up as much as I can.
Okay.
My name's Lowe's. I'm from Ohio as well. Pretty much the same answer, just looking to learn and observe.
My name is Rentok. I'm from Central Ohio as well. I'm looking for tips and tricks on analyzing. I'm relatively new to it, and I want to increase that.
Okay.
I'm Thorson, also from Baltimore, Maryland. Looking at just trying to read my opponents better, not fall for what their manipulations are, but learn to manipulate them better.
My
I'm Sheridan. I'm also from Ohio, and I want to be less predictable.
Okay.
I'm Talis. I'm from New York City. I want to improve my single sword game, and I want to be able to bring back knowledge to my party. So.
Okay.
I'm Thaddeus. I'm from Virginia, and I just want to learn like how to set up the stuff that I've got in my head so that I can do what I'm trying to strategize for.
Okay.
I'm Derek. I'm from Illinois. I'd like to know how to better incorporate returns into my.
Okay.
And Thrash from Baltimore, just looking to kind of get better at reading opponents mid-fight and maybe adjusting to people I haven't fought before.
Sure. Okay. So a lot of you guys want to be able to see what's going on, read what people are doing a little bit better. Learn how to break your own repertoires, like what your high percentage, like what you do a lot, how to basically add more to it. And then some of you guys spoke about setting people up and how to like use it, see it, and abuse it, right? Did I miss anything else? Not yet, right? Introduce yourself. Introduce yourself, say where you're from.
Material. Yeah, just here to watch my dudes.
All right, good. So, first off, let's talk about how people move, right? Now, when you're fighting, anytime somebody's going to be taking a step, right? There's basically two ways that you can take a step. You can take a step. You know, if I'm fighting, you know, with whatever hand, if I'm going to take a step forward from here, I can either take a step like this, right? Or I can take a step like this. Okay? Alright? One of two ways. So, if I'm going to take a step forward in the fastest manner possible, which is with this foot leading the way, my weight goes on my back foot, right? And then I step forward. Okay? So, if you see someone put their weight on their back foot and lift this foot, they're either going to go like this, right? Or they're going to go like this. Okay? Now, going like this is actually quite slow. Because you got to think about how you're moving your cord. So if my core is here, right, in line with my body, and I take a step forward like this, I've moved myself that much, right? Now, if I take a step back like this, right, I've moved myself like this much. See how that works? Right? But the key to this forward step is that you got to bring your back foot with you. Otherwise, you just spread yourself out and then you can't move. So, when somebody approaches you and goes after you, you know, you'll see them put their weight on their back foot and they'll raise their forward foot, and that will come forward. That usually accompanies some sort of shot, right? If you make a motion and you see somebody put weight on their front foot, they're going to be moving away from you, right? If you make a motion and you see somebody put the weight on their back foot, they're either bracing for you or they're going to come at you, right? So if you see somebody bracing either to brace for you or come at you, what you want to avoid is then going straight towards them, right? Because if they can't move, then why do you need to close that much distance? You should be able to close, you know, around them in some way, right? So you're watching what people are doing with your feet. Right? So if somebody is going to take a step this way, they put their weight on their left foot and they step to their right. They're going to take a step that way, put their weight on their right foot and step to their left. Okay? They don't do this. You'll see it once in a while, but it's so slow you should be able to do something about that. Right? So how many of you guys have problems like people getting too close to you when you're fighting? They hit you in the body and you're like, how did they get so close? Fair number of you. How many of you guys have problems not being able to get to somebody? Another fair amount of you. What happens a lot is that if Drakknar and I are fighting and I take a step forward to fight him and he is always constantly just too far away, his backward step is just too great for me to get to, you know, we can look at a couple different things. You can watch his feet for one. Watch where, like when he's stepping away from me and how far he's stepping away from me. But I also want to pay attention to what my feet are doing. If my feet are this close together, right? My feet are this close together, and I take a full step, and I'm traveling this distance. Right? If my feet are this far apart to start with, and I take a full step, I only travel this distance. Okay? Does that make sense? So if you find that you're having a hard time like getting to somebody, chances are you're starting your fight with your feet too far apart. Okay? But so you really want to pay attention to what people's feet are doing. People's feet and their hips are really going to tell you what's happening and when it's coming. Okay? The vast majority of setting somebody up has to do with controlling your distance from them. Because the distance at which we fight is going to determine what he can actually strike and what he can't. Whether I'm right on right or left on left, if I stay this far away from him at all times, you know, he can strike my arm, but he can't reach my body, right? Until he gets closer. So if I can keep this distance from him, I can limit, you know, what his options are. He can't reach my body, so he can either go this side of my arm or this side of my arm. Right? Make sense? Yep. Some of you have had my classes before, you'll kind of start to see a common theme with a lot of these concepts. So, if he can only strike the inside of my arm or the outside of my arm, I have my arm very much in the middle of where he can strike. If he makes a motion to one side, I have to address it. Okay? If he makes a motion to the other side, I have to address that. If I have my arm out here denying my outside, and he makes a motion to that side, I don't have to address that. If he makes a motion to the inside, I have to address it. Okay? Now you see how I've basically limited what I need to address in half. So I only have one thing I really need to address, as long as I'm staying far enough away. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. Alright? So you kind of like figure this tolerance of when he strikes at me, how far out does my hand need to be to keep me safe? So if he strikes, my hand is here, and he strikes, he's hitting me. If I move a little bit further, he's hitting me. A little bit further, still barely hitting me. Now he can't hit me. Okay? So that's where my denial guard needs to start from. Make sense? Okay, so on the inside, my hurricane's here. Can you hit me? Can you hit me? Can you hit me? Now he can't hit me. And he's really reaching to try to get there. Okay? See that, how that works? Okay, so if I'm watching him and I'm denying my outside, I need to pay attention to his feet. I need to pay attention to whether or not he's going to come to the inside. Okay? So, what am I watching for then, since we just talked about how people are going to move their feet? What am I watching for to defend my inside arm? Read on the back leg, right? If I see that weight go on the back leg, like he's going to take a step forward, you take a step back. Protect my inside, you know, protect my body and stay far enough away.
Weight on his right foot.
You weight on his back foot.
No,
he's going to take a
his
step
right
forward.
foot for him to go sideways.
Yeah, if he's going to go this way, yes, that's true. But I'm more worried about him getting close to my body at this point. So, like that makes sense, right? Okay. If he is going to also like try to come like extra deep on the outside, so he's going to take a step forward and he's going to go that way, his weight really has to go on his back foot to make that big lunge, right? So that's even more obvious. Okay? Now, so these are kind of like, I'm kind of building you a building block so that we can communicate for future parts of this class. If he's going to swing, all of your swings are going to come from your feet. When people swing a sword, even if they're all arm, they're still like rocking their weight from their back foot to their front foot, and it comes up and out, right? Even if you're like an action figure and you're going like this, it's very hard to swing and hit people. So you'll see a lot of people, really fast people, like they'll have these motions where their body does most of the swing. Okay? So the feet are the first tell, your hips are your second tell, and then the shoulder, and then the arm. So knowing that, since it starts in the feet, ends, it goes to the hips, goes to the shoulders, and ends in the arm, you know, what do people typically watch? What are you guys watching when you're fighting?
I'm usually watching right here.
Right
which
here?
I'm realizing now is too high, I guess.
What else? What else are people watching?
Watch a sword.
People watching swords. What else are people watching?
Hips and elbows.
Shoulders and elbows. Some people talk about watching people's eyes, right? Watch people's hips, right? there's a finite distance between the end of somebody's hand and their hip. Right? That doesn't like get smaller and it doesn't really get longer. Other than like a little bit of like body contortion you can do, right? So if you're watching, if you're watching their hips and their feet, you know, you kind of like peripherally need to take in what's going on with their arm and their shoulder. But if you're watching their feet first to watch how they're gonna move, especially if I'm like this far away, you can't quite really reach me, unless I have my arm out and then you can reach me. You know, if we're this far apart, and I'm watching his feet, you know, and I'm all ready for him and he's gonna make a motion. Whatever motion he makes, if I watch his feet first, that's the first thing that I'm going to need to see. Right? And then that force will travel to his hips. If he swings straight down, right, his hip's going to travel forward with it. See that? Do that again. Right? If he's going to swing to the outside, right, his hip travels towards the outside. It makes kind of like a circular motion to travel through the outside. Right? If he swings to the inside, his hip moves towards the inside. Because your hip is connected to your shoulder. Right? So the motion that his hip is making is going to be your tell as to which direction his arm is going to want to go. It's not very often that somebody is going to go like this and then swing like this. Right? You might see that, because it's going to be like something like that. However, if you're watching, right, this tip of this sword is going to travel from here to here, okay? Right? Conversely, if he's coming here, right, so the hip is traveling towards it, or here, hip's traveling towards it, and the sword's actually traveling this way, right? Towards that, right? The hip's going to go towards the swing. Okay? Alright, so. What? Huh?
You said unless your name is Gio.
Yeah, then you should feel like this. Okay, so, another thing that I think is very important that I've done in a couple of my classes this weekend is a really, really simple drill. A lot of people think that they maintain distance and control distance a lot better than you really do. So, if we both hold up our swords, we can hit each other's hands, right, at our max distance. He's trying to hit my hand. Now we're right at like hitting each other's hand, right? So we kind of mark that. You pay attention to where this is, like on my hand, right? If he takes a step towards me, I'm going to take a step back. There, he stepped a lot closer towards me, right? So do it again, right? So he takes a step towards me. Now I need to adjust to that big step that he took. We're about the same, okay? Now I take a step towards him. We're about the same. All right, he stepped away really good. And then we do it again, right? So he takes a step towards me. Go ahead. All right, so now we're about the same. I'll go for you then. All right, so he stepped quite a bit further away from me that time. So part of that is he jumped like as I was jumping, which is fine. But if you really want to maintain, you gotta feel for how far they're going. Okay? So I want you guys to pair up. I want you guys to do just that. Work on maintaining your distance from somebody else, and make sure you hold up your sword. You're not even trying to hit each other. You're just seeing how far distance between each other is staying.
This boy over here didn't even hear himself fighting. No, he's answering questions. So
I appreciate it.
He was trying to like Bruce Buffer.
All right, bring it back in. Bring it back in. Okay. What did you guys notice when you first started that drill?
You had to jump further than you thought you did. For sure.
Yeah, a lot of you are not moving nearly as far as you think you're moving, are you? Especially backwards.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so, yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think one of the reasons why I wasn't moving as far is because I was ending my lunge wider than I started it.
Yeah. Kind of just the same. Yep.
And
I had to adjust
there's
my stride.
I was definitely starting too wide before.
Yep.
My feet, it's a big problem. My stance is far too wide.
There's a movement that can happen right before that, and it's the cocking of that back leg. Make sure I caught that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because you see a lot of people that go like this. It's like that weight is on that leg now. Now I can step. So, when they're just like this, it's like, you like to lift that without like like really showing that you're putting weight on that foot is really hard. You know, like I can't even do it.
Yeah, you're coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can tell people are lunging if they get taller too.
Yep.
They'll step up to their foot and then.
Yep. Yep. Anything else? You guys notice anything else? But you can see how like actually doing that simple little drill with purpose like that can help you control your distance a lot better. Okay, good. Now, let's do that same sort of thing, except you're going to exchange throwing an opener on each other, right? And that opener is meant to accompany a fake, okay? So you're going to fake to one side and go to the other side, right? So I'll start off, and I'll fake to the outside and go to the inside for this instance, right? But if you watch, you know, I'll fake, and I'll go to the outside. Now, with that fake, which I go to the inside, with that fake, the fake generally happens with the hand. It's very uncommon for people to fake like in their hips because they're actually winding up their real shot with their hip and they're moving their arm a little independently. So you have to watch where their hip is to see where the shot's coming, okay? Right? Because I can move my hand out and it doesn't really affect my hip, but to go to the inside, my hip has to turn so that I can throw to the inside, right? So that fake, you know, I have to do this to throw that inside shot. With that fake, I can move my hand out to try to move his hand out, and I can throw to the inside, right? So if he's paying attention to my hip, it should be plain as day where my shot's actually coming to, right? But if he's watching my hand, it makes it much harder to read that, right? Okay, does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Right, no, so I'll do one, you know, where we'll start off at our proper distance where we can both get to each other. And so I'll take a good step and, you know, like, right? So he blocked my outside. It's great, right?
Were you faking inside or something?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see it.
All right, so then he would make a go, right? So, same sort of thing. He made a motion inside, you know, but his hip very clearly came to the outside, which is what I ended up following. Right? Okay, and the more distance that you keep from them, the more time you have to react to somebody swinging at you, because they have to travel a further distance with their sword. Right? So if you maintain that distance properly, like we just talked about, right, then you're going to be in a little bit better shape. So throw fakes, throw basic openers where you don't even throw a fake, you know, do those sorts of things and just see if you can watch the hip, if watching the hip is going to help you start to see those things a little bit easier and faster and be able to translate that information quicker. Now there will be a learning curve for people who are not used to watching somebody's core or watching somebody's hips to see actually where a shot is coming to or what side, right? So for the purposes of this, you know, make your incoming shots either to the outside or the inside. You know, try not to do anything, try not to break the rules for the purposes of the drill at the moment, okay? All right, so pair up with somebody you don't know and I'll know you, have some fun. While that was going on.
That's a lot harder than it looks.
It's very hard. Did that make it look a little easy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you can only process so much at the same time, so trying to process something new, watching something new while dealing with a fake or something, trying to get them to move one way, it's a little much at first, but I see a lot of, you can work that into intervals, you can work that into, we were just talking about a lot of different ways to incorporate that into some kind of training regimen that would be very beneficial.
Right. Anyone else notice anything?
I found that, like, when I was paying proper attention to the hips, like, my block was already on the correct side. Like, I didn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. I watch up here and let the peripherals watch the shoulders, essentially, which is a good early point to not watching the hand. But when you watch the hips, you're getting that even before. So the whole, you know, quick fighter thing, you're reading earlier, so you can be that even quicker. Yeah, it was great.
Even though they fake to an outside, their hips still going to the inside to set it up for that inside shot. So hips don't lie, right?
That's right.
I had it right. Who knew?
That's right. Anything else? Anyone notice anything else? Yeah? Okay. The other thing that I want to point out, if somebody is traveling, like the hips are going to change in how obvious they are as to how it is going to directly correlate to how much somebody's going to try to reach outside. If somebody is closing distance on you in a very straight line, their hip is going to be a lot less like showy as to which side they're going to, because they just don't have the space to really reach around outside, right? If I'm going to throw like a straight, if I'm going to close as much distance as I can but still go to the outside, you know, I'm still going to be doing this, but my hip turns out, but it's not nearly as much as if I'm doing this, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Is it the coil? Somehow how it's like coils kind of thing?
yeah. Yeah. So that's going to help you determine as well, like which direction people are going, right? Now, what you can do to really mess with people, is you can do things like, you know, even though my hip is still going to tell them where I'm going, you know, if I take a good step outside, you know, even though my hip is going to tell them I'm coming inside, my initial step being opposite of that, right, makes it a lot harder to see that, okay? Or vice versa, if I come in and I do this, right, even though my hip still has to turn out so I can throw that shot, my initial step being the opposite of that, especially if I accompany it with like, you know, like a fake to the outside as I'm stepping in so I can throw. You know, that helps, you can really manipulate what somebody's guard is doing and what they're thinking, even if they're not consciously looking at your hip, right? So you can break off and do that drill again and do that same sort of thing, but we're going to move forward because there's lots of things to talk about, all right? Now, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit how you should actually be defending yourself. Now that we can see what we need to see to defend ourselves, let's talk about where your hands should be, okay? Now, like we talked about before, there's like that tolerance for the outside to the inside, right? You've got this defensive box. It's from the top of your navel, or the bottom of your navel, like to your nipple line, right here, this box right here. Your hand is going to stay inside this box, pretty much at all times. Your ability to go like this is much, much faster than your ability to go like this, okay? So, if he swings to my outside, I'm going to move my back shoulder away from the incoming shot. Back shoulder. Move away from the incoming shot. I'm going to keep my hand stays in pretty much the same place in correlation with my shoulder the whole time. Right? If he goes to the inside, right, my back shoulder moves away from the shot and my arm stays in the same place in comparison to my shoulder. Okay? This does two things for you. One, it's much, much, much faster than moving your arm. If you find yourself going like this, calm down, think about keeping it in your box and moving your core instead, right? That's much, much easier, okay? The other thing that it will do, that when we move on to, so now I've seen where, you know, I've watched what he's doing. He's going to throw to the inside, and I've seen it, and I block it. Because I blocked it with my core like this instead of my arm, in order for me to hit him, I have to bring my arm back out and strike. Okay? Now if I block it using my core, the motion to strike now becomes this. Right? And we just established this is much faster than this.
Plus basically you can be doing two movements at the same time.
Yes. Yep. So now that because I'm keeping my guard inside my box and moving my core to catch that block, when he throws inside, now I can return like this, right? Very quickly. Right? Now, the other thing that I want to point out is that any given situation, as a general rule, you want to have this in between that and you. Okay? Right? You guys remember that? Yeah. Okay, so, yep, keep your hand in the way, keep your weapon in the way. Now, when my weapon stays in the way at all times between this weapon and me, what is that going to force him to do if he wants to hit me?
Go offline.
He's going to want to reach around me, right? So he's going to do things like that. Or he's going to do things like that, right? Where his hand, when he does that, either way, right, his hand is not in between me and him. Where if I catch that block, and I throw this shot, my hand is still in between me and him. See that? Okay, so now what I want you to do is start that right distance away from each other, and then the one person will go first, so he can go first. You take your step back, and you catch that block, and then you try and return to hit him. Right? Can you do that? Yep. Okay. What did you guys see with that? What did you notice with that? How many of you, once you threw your shot, you didn't pay any attention to what that other person's hips were doing after they blocked your shot?
At first.
The first few matches. It's hard to see it because what are you trying to do? You're
Not
trying to hit them. You're like, ooh, I'm trying to hit them, right?
It's really
Well, one of the cool things though is when you blocked it correctly, not only was your hand chambered to throw, but your hip was coiled and chambered. So like that return was powerful and really quick and succinct.
Yep.
That's why it's important when throw, the shot's not over to your back and your guard.
That is not true.
Really?
That is not true. I'm a big advocator of when you throw a shot, I leave my shit in his shit. I do not return to guard. Okay? Return at any given point. Point your sword straight at. Okay, so in order for me to defend myself from him, and my hand is this close to my body, in order to defend this side, I have to be here, right? And to defend this side of my body, I have to go from here to here. Okay? So I've traveled like this distance, which is what? 12 inches, 11 and a half inches? Straight at me again. If my arm is fully extended, and I have to defend myself to this side, it's this far, right? Now, if I have to defend myself against this side, it's about that far, so it's about this distance. Okay? That's about 4 inches, which is about a third. Right? Now, because if I throw my weapon, and here he catches this block and I leave my sword here, what can he not do without physically going around my sword?
Go to the outside.
Go to the outside. Right? If I go like this and then like this, what can he do? You moved your sword out of the way so he can go to the outside really easy. Right? So if I throw my thing here, he has really good access to inside, right?
Well, not really, you just have to turn your hand up,
Well, that's
right?
true. I can defend myself, but that's like his best option.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Right? Is to go to my inside. Right? Now, if I throw this, and I know that, so I either throw it in a way that my hand is in the way already to defend my inside, or I throw it and turn my hand. You know, it's extremely hard for him to go to the outside, but this hand's already on the way on the inside. What does he have?
Not a lot.
He can go for your
He has to go down.
So inclined, but I mean, he's going to have to really reach and leave.
But he's
going
to have to go really far. He's going to have to
go deep.
reach.
Yeah.
And now what does that mean?
It's going to leave him open really bad.
Right, because his hand...
I gotta move my sword out.
Yep, he's got to move his sword out of the way in between my weapon and him.
And you get the inside lane.
And I get the inside lane.
That's just a safe shot all around. Shots
Well,
over
it's
are
fast.
Yeah, but where did I go to begin with? It's traditionally not safe.
Right. Outside.
Outside. Right?
Your hand position where he throws that.
That's right. So, if I throw to the outside and I do this, right, he's got a really safe inside shot on me. Okay? So he's probably going to throw inside. He's going to take my arm, right? Now, there's basically a very common theme in a lot of my teachings that the more dangerous you leave yourself, the more consistent their return is going to be. So if I throw like this, he is almost 100% going to take my arm on the inside, right? If I throw like this, it's a little less sure if he's going to go for my inside lane. If I go like this, chances are very low he's going to go to the inside lane, but he might go to the outside or he might try to reach deeper on the inside, so it becomes a little less certain as to what he'll do, right? So you kind of want to leave somebody something just juicy enough that you can defend yourself against to convince them to go for it. Right?
As long as you have the proper response.
Well, right. Well, of course I'm going to have the proper response, because why would I have opened that way otherwise? Right? Because I opened, I told him where to come next. Right? Does you all see how that works?
Yeah.
There's some really simple things too. If you swing high on somebody's weapon, above their weapon, they're generally going to come underneath, right? Because your weapon's in the way to go over top of it. If I throw lower than his weapon, he's generally going to come over my weapon because my weapon's in the way for him to go under it. Right? Simple. Yeah? If I throw to the inside of his weapon, he's generally going to go to the outside because my weapon is in the way. If I throw to the outside, he's going to go to the inside because my weapon is in the way to the outside. Right? I mean, that's pretty simple stuff, right? This is in the way. Where does that leave him? What options does that leave him? Right? If I throw these shots in a way, so, if I throw him this shot here, right, he's got extremely good access not only to the outside but also to the underside under my hip, right? So chances are extremely high because that's very dangerous that he's going to come underneath my hip with my arm, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So when we're standing this close, he has two options. He can go to my arm real easy, or he can go to my hip real easy. If I'm this close, he can't reach my hip anymore, so now it's really obvious that he's going to try to go for my arm. If he takes a step forward, right, I have to maintain that because I can still need to limit where he can go to. Right? So, because I open in a specific way, I'm going to dictate to him what he needs, what's coming. What is coming towards me. I've dictated to him what I want. Okay? Now what really gets tricky is if he opens on me, right? He's opened on me, right? Now, let's break this down. He's opened on me to the outside. And he's given me a lane, but not a great lane to the inside. Okay? Now if I really want to hit him, I can get around that, but now I've moved my hand out of the way. Right? So what I might do instead is, swing to his hand. Now, I've swung to his hand, and my sword is very much in the way of the outside lane here. Right? See that? If I swung this like this, he's got, he can go to the outside, but he can't go to the inside. Right? But like this, I've given him access to the inside lane, which is probably where he's going to go. Right? So because I haven't been too worried about actually trying to hit him on my return, when he throws that outside, and I threw, to his hand, and maybe a little step like this, now he's like, all right, well, that inside lane's mine, that's what I want, right? So, then all it would take for me is to identify that, and now that I'm ready for him, he's going to come to that inside lane, and it's a very easy thing for me to get him. But the key to all this is my hand stays in the way, because it convinces him to reach. And because we're 3 shots into this scenario, it's very hard for a lot of people to be like, oh, I threw my opener and he returned. Yes, I blocked his return. Now where can I get him? And they'll try to get you. They're going to get you. They're going to get you. They're going to come get you. But because I wasn't too concerned about killing him on my return, I was more interested about staying safe because he didn't give me a really safe option. So I just gave him a safe return to give him what he thinks is the best option for him, which is that inside lane going at my body, which gives me a super safe option, right? See that?
Yes.
Does that not make sense to anybody? Makes perfect sense. So why don't you guys already all do that?
Call it out.
All right, so smarter than us. No, that's not true at all. All right. So the key is number 1, watching how they're moving so that you can maintain distance so you can limit their options, right? Number 2, you're watching where their hip goes so you can identify where the danger's coming and you can defend yourself. right? And number 3 is what?
What lane you want them to come into?
Well, blocking correctly, but yeah, but surviving, yeah, is
It's the lane you want them to come into. Where you're going to block to know where they're going to come into.
That's part of it. But what's before that?
I guess creating juicy opening.
The safe return.
Keep your hand in the way.
I thought we already said that, but okay.
Well, you can block and then you can return, but a lot of people return and they don't keep their hand in the way. They bring their hand like out here, or they go like this. He's like, "Ooh, it's my time to return." Whoop. Right? You keep your hand in the way. You force them to go around your hand. Okay? You know, that used to be, and I used to speak about it a lot, but anymore, the more and more that I have progressed in this theory, it used to be that the outside is no man's land unless you bring your heater with you. You just don't go out there. It's cold outside, right? Like, because this is a dangerous shot, okay? But if you can throw it in a way that you keep your hand in the way of their weapon, there's nothing wrong with it, right? So if instead of throwing it like this, if I say throw it like that, my hand is in the way, right? It's no longer dangerous. Not only have I cut off the inside lane, I give him a difficult outside lane to go to, which really is his only good option, which in most situations is exactly where I want him, because it's still dangerous outside unless you bring your heater with you, remember? Right? See how that works? So because of this, I'll show you 2 real common openers that I throw in order to really control fight off of an opener by keeping my hand in the way. These are basically the safest things that I generally do, okay? And they're usually some version of these 2 things. I might put some stuff in front of them to make them look like stuff, like other things, but for the most part, I throw either this shot at an outside, or I throw this shot on an inside. Okay? Alright? So this inside shot, you know, if you can reach back body, you can reach back body, but still my hand is in the way. Right? But otherwise, if he has a really extended guard, you know, you can hit people's wrists with just a little bit of juice, but my hand stays in. And you see how I leave it out there and it stays in the way. Right? Because I'm not returning the guard, right? Okay?
So you're not keeping it where the contact is, you're just keeping it on.
I'm just keeping it in the way. I'm not necessarily maintaining contact, because I don't want him to be able to like really mess with me too much. But, you know, I'll throw that and I'm like, oh, here he comes. You know, like, ah.
He deserved that.
Thanks. But, you know, so I'm going to throw that and I'm going to keep my hand in the way. But this shot is just dangerous enough that if he's not wary, you know, and I can get to it, right? And it's a dangerous enough shot that I can actually damage somebody with it. Same with this one, right? Now what's really great is that I can do the same sort of thing, right? And it goes to the outside and all I do is turn my hand away. It's the same thing, right? But it ends like here, which is what we just talked about, where, you know, he has really good access to really nothing but no access to inside and some access to the outside. Right? Where it's cold. Right? Those are 2 real simple common openers that I'll throw. You know, I put a lot of spin on it to make it look like other things, but it's a lot of what it is. Right? Other things that I'll do a lot to gauge people that I want to also talk about is throw people gimme shots. You know, like stay at range and you're not even trying to hit them. You know, yourself. Just to see how they move their hand, right? So if I do that same sort of thing and that's how he moved his hand, like he's got a very good, very minimal guard with that block, right? So with that, you know, now next time maybe I'll make it look like I'm going deeper, right? Because he's so minimal, and see how he reacts. So then I'll, right? That really made him twitch. I'm like, ooh, maybe I can get something to the inside. And I learned all of that One, because I threw a shot, and unless he took a really big step, you know, I've gotten this distance from him. Even if we do this and he aggresses really quickly, you know, there's not a ton that he can get. You know, he's not going to be able to get to me very easily. But I observed that one thing. So then at distance, you're like, you know, ooh, you know, so you need to really see him twitch, right? So extremely safely, without even really being part of the combat, I've observed two things that I'm, you know, now I'm going to start building a strategy on. You know, maybe I can get something to the inside now. You know, if it's somebody who's really accomplished and has fought a ton, you know, in his head he's going to be like, ooh, he could have easily hit me. So I need to be a little careful with that, right? So then you're like, well, you know, maybe in this situation, maybe it's better to, you know, like make him think. You're like, well, I basically saw that inside opening. He's like, all right, I'm going to try to repeat that so that he goes for my inside and I can punish him for it. You know, and then you're like, you know, and then you actually go to the outside when you give a little fake to the inside, right? See that? Yeah. Yep. Yep. Now, but you know, in any event, I'm still keeping my hand in the way. I'm still watching his hip on his return. He's still watching my hip on my opener. And the biggest key of all is maintaining that distance. Right? Say what?
Keeping the options.
Keeping the options limited. Right? Now, the big difference, a lot, you know, some of you take my hand matching course. Some of you, and I talked about it a little bit in like my beginning two-sword course, and in my two-sword course yesterday. But you know, in hand matching, the biggest difference that is going to be commonplace for you to be able to manipulate and use is if we're hand matching and we hold our swords out at max range, right? In order for me to hit his outside arm, to actually hit it, you know, I have to be, you know, right here. Inside lane is here, right? Outside is going to be the fastest because all it is a chop. I don't have to do this, right? This is going to be the fastest, right? This is a little bit slower, but I still have that reach when I can reach to the outside, which means he can hit my outside or my inside arm. In order for me, just stay where you are. In order for me to get to his body, you know, I need to now travel this much closer, right? So from like here, where I can reach his arm when his arm's extended, to here, right? Which means he can hit my body. So which was what, like a 6-inch difference thereabouts, maybe 7?
8.
Yeah, 6 to 8, yeah, something like that, depending on who you are and what you are. Let's go right here. If we're right on right, the fastest thing to hit is the inside arm if he's extended. We're both extended, fastest thing to hit is the inside arm. Okay? I can't quite reach the outside arm yet. A little bit closer, now I have access, easy access to the outside arm. About an inch difference, right? Another inch, now I can hit his body. Yeah, so it's like 3 to 4 inch difference between the ability to damage somebody to the ability to hit their body, right? So if you're hand matching, you have more of a cushion to be able to limit somebody's options where they can't touch your body. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to just do some sparring. Okay? I want you guys to watch what the other person is doing. I want you to form a plan when you open. You're like, okay, so if I throw to the outside, where do I want them to go? To get them to go where I want them to go, where does my hand need to be? What option do I have to give them? There's this game of tolerances where the more, you know, like I said, the more juicy you make something, the more obviously they'll go there. So where is the breaking point? How much can I defend myself while still making them go where I want?
So you want to do single sword or full combo?
Single sword. Single sword. Okay, what did you guys think?
It's fun.
Yeah.
I need to practice.
Practice.
Yeah.
Lots of practice.
Yeah.
What did you guys notice?
There's more information to just kind of process, because I'm just thinking about what shots I should be taking, as well as like looking at their hips and trying to figure out what shots they're available. It's a lot to just process.
It's also less, because if you jam up a lane, you can not really ignore, but you know that that area coming from that lane is not going to hit you.
That does help though, right?
Yeah, you cut off half the job. Go ahead.
I definitely have to work on watching the hips more, but I like throwing the safe opener.
Yep.
And then keeping my shit and their shit allowed me to not only cut off a lane, but after a while I was able to play with it, and you can kind of pump some fake information in there. Like if I throw that safe outside, I can kind of hand pump, and they have a tendency to think you're going to want to try to go back inside, and then you can just continue with the pop while staying safe because you're keeping your hand in there.
Yeah.
Which I really liked.
Notice if you start the exchange with something safe, 9 out of 10 times the patterns are almost 100% the same, depending on what your setup is, as long as you're conscious of what you're doing.
Yep.
And the variations, there's only maybe one other variation of the 90% of the stuff that happens.
That does happen a lot. You fall into that trap a lot. I'll talk about that in a second. And what he's saying is, if you throw a super safe, if you guys are both fighting super safe, and you throw a super safe inside, they'll throw a super safe outside. And then you throw a safe inside, they throw a safe outside. And you kind of go back and forth like that, right? We'll talk about that more. Yeah.
I found that my range control was improved because I was watching the heavier feet, so I didn't get some of those explosive openers where they come in at you real quick.
Yeah.
I was able to back away from those quicker, which obviously increased my overall defense, which was great.
Good.
I found once you had those safe openers, you could start playing around with them, tweaking enough to leave certain areas open that weren't intentionally left open. And you could say, oh, they're going to hit that, and giving them false context where, oh yeah, you made through swing for that the first time, but the second time I'm going to come in and change it real quick. So it's quite fun to play around with those variations, like you said, the different variations, throwing those safe openers to get them to do different things, because you'll get stuck in the trap of safe inside, safe outside, so you have to tweak it to where you give them something different to throw than that safe outside that they think they can get.
Right.
A lot of times the natural reaction to a safe opener is for your opponent just to back out. That happened a lot.
Sometimes. So what do you got to do then?
Either close or make it a little juicier for him to swing back.
I really dig getting into patterns, but knowing that you're gonna break the pattern. So the safe opener starts that pattern, so you expect the return, but you're already I know they want me to return in this fashion, but maybe that's when the fake happens. Like boom, boom, fake it, go the other way.
That's 100% right. That's exactly what I like to do. And because I know those patterns so well, I don't have to think too much about it. Right? Because it's bang, 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 whoop, bang. Right? And I can do that in the mid-fight, make them think I'm going to poke them instead of go to the inside. And they're like, ooh, then you go outside. Right? Breaking those patterns, especially mid-fight, it's really hard. But it's very doable. Right? So if we're squared up and we get in that pattern where I throw outside, he throws inside, right? And then I throw back outside, and he throws back inside, because we're just exchanging these safe things. So on that third one, if I go like I'm going to go outside, he's moved his thing out, his sword out, I can go inside and still stay safe. So thus I've broken that pattern, right? Or I can throw the shot a little bit differently. I can, if I've been throwing this this outside here where I can move my hand in to stay safe, to get him to go inside, right? So this next time, then I throw it like this. Now he doesn't have that inside option, a great inside option. So now I've changed it a little bit, so he might want to come outside now, because, especially if I get my tip away from him so he can travel outside easier. But because my inside lane's cut off so hard because of how I put my hand, which is different than before, now he might want to go, he might want to go outside. He might want nothing to do with it, but in the heat of the moment, when we've already exchanged 3 or 4 swings, how often are you 3 or 4 swings into something and somebody's like, yeah, it's not safe. You know what I mean? Yep. The further into a fight somebody is with you, the more on autopilot they become, and the more oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, yes, blocked, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, yes, I blocked it, yeah, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh, I blocked it, right? The more their body and their mind kind of falls into those patterns, and it's much harder for them to take a conscious thought and implant it in the middle of the fight, right? Make sense? So what does that mean you guys have to do? You guys have to practice enough that you can do that. And you have to consciously make that effort to try to impose that. Okay? The other thing I want to talk about is when somebody has a shield. Two-sword, you can still watch their hips really quite easily because they don't have that thing in the way of seeing their hips. When Drakknar's lined up, his shield is, not only is he fighting with this foot forward, so this hip, the weapon hip, the dangerous hip, is what I got to pay attention to still, right? Not only is this leg in the way, but the shield is in the way. It's harder for me to see that. Right? So I need to compensate for that somehow. Because now I have to watch. Right? Now I have to watch really where the shot's coming from, like the shoulders. If I can see the hip, that's great. But now I have to pay more attention to the shoulders because I can't see the hips very well. So what do I got to do then instead? What can I pay attention to still?
Feet.
The feet. What are the feet going to allow me to do?
See where the weight is.
See where the weight is, so then I can anticipate what? Which direction it's coming, and what?
How close he's going to be.
How close he's coming towards me. I can figure out range still, right? Now my range has to be extremely on point. For one, because I only have one weapon against his board. I don't have a board, but if you have a board, you can still watch their feet. You can still manipulate their range really easily. I can't see that hip very well. So I need to stay far enough away so that I can get him to do something unsafe. Because I still want to keep my weapon in between his weapon and me. And if I can get him to reach for something outside of that while still staying safe, I can kill him. Right? But the only way I'm going to be able to do that is if I can limit his options. The only way I'm going to do that against somebody really good is limit his options by staying far enough away that I have a good chance of defending myself. Right? Right? And if I stay too far away, he's either A, not going to swing, or B, I can't hit him back. Right? No. Don't hit him back, Bruce. Bad. Real bad. Does that make sense? Any questions? Questions or comments? Does anyone want to see anything specific that I haven't covered that you were hoping I would? Did I give you enough information to digest?
Yeah.
That's a lot, okay?
Any particular drills you would add?
Block strike is very helpful. Block strike is not the end-all biblical thing that a lot of people make it out to be.
It's not 2010 anymore.
That's right. I recommend doing the drill that I showed you is kind of a manipulation of that, of block strike, except your ability to move your feet has to stay consistent because it all stems from being able to maintain a distance from somebody. Right? But block strike is really, really good for training your offhand to fight because you force yourself to fight with it and block with it. And it's also really good at reading how people are moving and where the shots are coming. And it's very good for learning the patterns of shot progressions. Okay? Right? But that's only if you're doing it correctly. If you're actually blocking and caring less about striking, which is the whole purpose of block strike, when everyone thinks, ooh, I just get to stand here and hit my friend, right? You need to really pay attention to the block and what the block does. When you move your hand from block to block or strike to strike, and where your hand ends at each of those two times of flux in that drill, how does that change things and how does that manipulate things? That's what you need to pay attention to. Less about, how can I hit it next? Right? But block strike can be extremely helpful. Like I said, you need to do more than that. Another good drill that you can do is you can jump rope. It is really, really easy to be lazy. And it is really, really hard to stay far enough away from somebody, especially somebody who's good, that you can control a fight in that manner. And if you can do that, that usually means that in a sparring session, usually that means A, you're in better shape, or B, you're just paying attention more. But usually it's because you're in better shape, or you're lighter on your feet. get lighter on your feet by doing stuff like jumping rope, box jumps, things where you're continually moving your feet. Even when you feel like you can't continue to go, you know, you keep moving your feet. A lot of people see me sparring and stuff, and they're like, fuck, that dude just never gets tired. Like, that dude just keeps fighting, and he just doesn't care. He doesn't care how many people line up. He just doesn't care. You know, I fight somebody 15 times, and they're like, man, I'm beat. I'm like, that's it. Come on, let's go. Right? But I do these things. I jump rope. I work on my feet more than anything else.
You mentioned another video. I heard jump rope or box jumps. Box jumps. Cool.
Box jumps. So when I jump rope, I do sets of 50. Okay? So I'll do 50 with both feet, 50 with my right foot, 50 with my left foot, and then 50 alternating. Okay? And then I'll usually stop and I'll do like a set of box jumps, do a set of lunges. I'll do, you know, some kind of like stretching step, like a rhythm skip where I'm stretching my back. Okay? And then maybe like some sort of step drill, like where you have a box, you step up on it, and then you go back and you do your jump rope again. You know, you do like 4 sets of something like that. And then as you get in better shape, you just add more stuff to it. Or you do 70 jump ropes instead of 50 per run, right? And if my crippled old ass can do that stuff, so can you. Right?
Yeah, I just kind of let them run away because I figure they'll be back eventually.
Didn't you like come off with like a pretty bad knee injury?
Yeah, I tore my ACL, gosh, 2013. May. I was back fighting by January that year.
I was glad we didn't have to put you down.
Me too. So I had an ACL reconstruction. Took me about 2 years to get my feet back under me to the point where, you know, I could kind of keep up again. But because of that injury, you know, before that, I always took my feet for granted, and I used my hands to just destroy whatever was in front of me. And I didn't really realize how much I depended on my feet to stay away from people, so I couldn't do it anymore. And then people started chewing me up, and I was like, "Grr." So I looked at why are they chewing me up? Well, they're chewing me up because they're on top of me, and I can't do anything about it. So then I worked really hard on my feet to get back to the point where I could do something about it again. And because of that, and because I had to work my hands so hard, I came out better for it in the end. Alright? Alright, any other questions or comments or concerns?
So that little thing you mentioned at the end about you fighting single stick against a sword and border?
Yeah.
So that's like my life. You know, I'm a great weapon fighter. So like, push me back an extra like foot or so.
Yeah.
And I'm just stuck in that range all day.
Yeah.
How do you extend that point of like that second, right when it gets in the point where you both can hit each other? How do you extend that for a longer period of time to keep yourself able to actually finish a kill?
With you, because your weapon's that much longer than his, you have a margin where you can hit him and he can't hit you. So you give him the illusion that he can hit you, and he'll stick his arm out there and you can take it. So, but the majority of that's just going to be with your feet. You know, you're going to fight him with your feet more than anything else. You can do tons of trick shots. You can learn all kinds of fun ways to open people up with their shield. But at the end of the day, if you can't stay far enough away, they're probably going to destroy you. So it's the same. It'll be a lot of the same principles, but you have a bigger margin of error. You have a heavier weapon at the same time. So I think you can apply quite a bit, especially what I've seen you do. I mean, your ability to get places with your pole is good enough that if you really get your feet extremely good, like you're gonna be like, I got you. Alright. Any other questions? Comments? Concerns?
Flash, where are you posting this?
So
It'll be on YouTube. I'll post it to the event.
Oh yeah.
To the Facebook or the suite?
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Okay, 3 o'clock they're going to be doing the instructor cards, the volleyball court. I encourage all of you to go get an instructor, try to get, you know, you can only get one at a time, but when you finish with the guy you're with, come back, try to get another card. We generally do like 10 rounds or something with each instructor.
I tried one of
Thank God.
at a time.
It's 6. Because 10 was bullshit last time. Anyway, so you'll probably be able to get a couple instructors if you hurry through it.
6 sessions?
I think there's 6 cards, yeah, per instructor. So the whole thing's supposed to last an hour. Are you saying you're gonna put it on Facebook?
It'll be on YouTube.
Put it on YouTube and then just link it?
Yep.
Cool. Thanks for reporting.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming. Participation is great, guys. Yeah. Good job.